Ah, Halloween. The season of spooks, scares, and eating your full body weight in candy. To mark the occasion, I thought I'd look at something scary today. Let's see what we found. Pokemon Play It? Okay, even ignoring the fact that the Pokemon trading card game is still around, that doesn't sound very Halloween.
Using the cards, you can battle against your friends to become the best there ever was.
Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Oh my god, what is that thing? I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks now. This is Pokemon Play It, I guess. Wait, stop. This isn't a trading card game, it's a video game. This calls for a new title card. In February 2000, Wizards of the Coast, who published the Pokemon trading card game at the time, released the base set 2 exclusively in America and Europe. This set combined reprints of cards from the original base set and the Jungle expansion from the previous year. As part of base set 2, they released the 2-player CD-ROM starter set, which was similar to the 2-player starter set released with base set 1, with a few changes. The second deck was changed from Fire-type to Water-type, and they included a plastic Pikachu coin. As for why they called it the CD-ROM starter set, they also added this to the package. Pokemon Play It was a simple PC game intended to help new players learn how to play the Pokemon TCG. Even if you've never played it, you may have at least seen that opening video. This game is kind of infamous for its utterly terrifying 3D character models and animation. I don't know who thought this was remotely okay, but I would like to know just what was going on inside their head. I'm not going to get into the history or the mechanics of the Pokemon trading card game itself, because that's not the focus of this video, and it's still around, so I assume at least a few of you are already familiar with it anyway. Once you've suffered through that intro movie and actually get into the game, there's really not much to it. Just 4 options: learn, play, extras, and quit. Right at the top, you've got a series of tutorials teaching you how to play the card game. It's all pretty basic stuff, but I did learn that Diglett is pretty cool.
Diglett, pretty cool.
The main game mode is just basic duels against the AI. You have 2 half-size decks to choose from, the same decks included in the starter set for real in fact, and the AI will take whichever one you don't pick. Then you just play half a game for 3 prize cards instead of the standard 6. There's also no indication that you can do this, but if you type in the word fire with your keyboard while on the main menu, you'll unlock 2 more decks, a fire deck and an extra deck. The fire deck is similar but not identical to the fire deck included in the 2-player starter set from the first base set the previous year, and the extra deck is also fire-type, but not based on any existing starter deck as far as I can tell. For whatever reason, despite saying in the tutorials that her favorite Pokemon are water-type, Julie will always use the fighting deck whenever you pick either of these fire decks. The gameplay here is fine. The graphics and interface are simple, but they get the job done. You can't see the number of cards in your opponent's hand, but since none of the cards here let you interact with their hand in any way, it's not a huge deal. One thing that's actually pretty neat is that every Pokemon has its own cry when you play or evolve it. It's a little thing, but it's nice that they put the extra effort in, even if some of them do sound kind of silly.
Seal.
On the other hand, all the text is in Comic Sans and just, why? Comic Sans aside, it all works well enough, save for a couple of odd glitches. For one thing, you can't play Pokemon on your bench before starting a match. You have to wait for your first turn. Theoretically, this could be a problem, but in practice there doesn't seem to be any way to knock out a Pokemon on the first turn here, so it's at least something you can deal with. A bigger problem is the fact that you can use Magmar's Flamethrower attack without discarding an energy card. This makes Magmar, and by extension the extra deck that includes it, far more powerful than it should be. It is pretty funny though. With only 4 decks, only half of which your opponent will ever use, the gameplay gets really repetitive really quickly. You can get maybe an hour of enjoyment out of this game before it becomes incredibly dull. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Aside from an extras menu with a few PDF files you can read, a printable playmat and coin, and a link to the old website that doesn't exist anymore, that's everything this game has to offer. Well, there's also supposed to be a quiz you can take to unlock some wallpapers, but it wouldn't load no matter how many times I tried. There really isn't that much to say about this game because there's barely anything here. But later the same year, inside the Thunderstorm gift box, or Tempest gift box outside of the United States, Wizards included Pokemon Play It version 2. Compared to the first one, version 2 is greatly expanded. All of the old content is here, but there's a surprising amount of new stuff to round out the package. Only a portion of the original tutorials remain in their original form, while the rest are replaced by 11 playable ones, which do a much better job of helping to teach the game. And Diglett is still pretty cool.
So that makes Diglett pretty cool, huh?
Even the regular games from the old version are present, letting you use all of those half decks except for the extra deck, and no secret password is required to use the fire deck this time. You can also play full games now with complete 60-card decks and 6 prize cards. There are 7 pre-constructed decks to choose from, and Julie will actually choose randomly from all of them. I cannot stress enough just how much less repetitive and tedious this makes playing multiple games. There's also a new difficulty select, but it really only adjusts how much Julie will comment during a game. By default, she'll talk through her entire thought process for every move, which makes the gameplay slow to an absolute crawl. So I recommend immediately switching her over to only occasional comments, or better yet, turning her off entirely so you don't have to look at her hideous CG face. They even fixed the glitches from the original. You can now fill your bench before starting the game, and Magmar's flamethrower attack functions properly. The only real issue now is that you can't play a regular match at the start. You need to unlock the feature by completing all of the tutorials, which takes forever, and if you're already familiar with the mechanics of the Pokémon TCG, it's just a complete waste of time. And on top of that, you also need to win 3 of those half games using the decks from version 1 in order to even unlock the second half of the tutorials. Yes, you need to unlock tutorials! At least once you've gotten through all of this garbage, you won't ever need to do so again. But they didn't just expand and refine the core game, no, they added some entirely new features too. The new Collect feature is a catalog of all 310 cards and 14 promo cards from the TCG's first 4 sets, allowing you to track which ones that you have and how many copies. You can even print out your list if you want to reference it away from the computer. There's just one problem. The Gym Heroes set had already released the previous month, and that was set number 5. This card catalog was already out of date on day 1. Far more interesting, however, is the Build feature. This contains an interactive tutorial for deck building, which proves that Julie has no idea which cards are actually any good, and then lets you loose to build whatever deck you want from the 324 cards in the game's catalog. This is actually pretty cool. It reminds me a little bit of the various Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games released over the years that let you collect cards and build your own deck to face off against a selection of AI opponents. Except, you can't. For whatever reason, the decks that you build in this mode cannot be used in the main game. You are stuck with the 7 pre-built decks only. Why? Why let me build a deck if I can't do anything with it? What is the point of including this feature? Anyway, in addition to everything above, you have the exact same extras menu that was in version 1, but with one interesting addition. Nothing that I say will be able to do this justice, so just brace yourself for the most gloriously cheesy thing you will ever see. I present to you this commercial for the official Pokémon TCG Tournament League.
Are you ready to be the ultimate Pokemon Master Trainer?
Yes, I think I am.
Then join the Pokemon Trading Card Game League. You'll do awesome activities.
Oh, it's so beautiful. The Hemi announcer, the over-the-top editing. I know this released in 2000, but this is so gloriously 90s.
Log on to wizards.com. Go forth and be a master.
Even the PDF behind this video is a perfect time capsule, with these characters that look like a middle-aged American cartoonist trying to mimic what he thinks anime looks like. It's all so perfect. On a less fun note, I still couldn't get the quiz to work on this version either. I was able to rip the wallpapers off the disc though, so enjoy those. So, Pokemon Play It. Is it any good? Well, as a teaching tool to help kids learn how the card game works, it seems like it would do its job admirably, especially version 2. I actually had this as a kid after I got the Thunderstorm gift box as a present, and I actually played it quite a bit. See, everyone I knew collected the cards, because this was back during the height of Pokémania, and every kid ever was obsessed with the franchise. But the thing was, none of my friends actually knew how to play. Everyone had cards, but no one had a deck. so the only way I was ever able to play the TCG at the time was in this game. But if I'd been able to play with my friends, I don't think I would have picked Play It back up nearly as much as I did. If you want to play the classic Pokemon TCG with all of the old cards in a digital format, just play the Game Boy Color game, which is a far more complete experience. Don't bother picking this up. It's not a bad game, but it's also not a particularly good one. Aside from the nightmare-inducing 3D animation, Pokemon Play It is honestly kind of dull. So until the next time you pay me a visit, this is Craig bidding you farewell from the Dungeon of the Discarded. I know this episode was a lot shorter than usual, but I wanted to try something different, and I had fun making it. I hope you had fun watching.
Pretty cool.